Have you ever stopped to wonder how to truly improve your gut health? Have you asked yourself what the absolute top 10 foods are that are silently destroying your gut every single day? Your microbiome, that complex ecosystem of bacteria living within you, and the foods you choose to eat, are connected in profound ways that most people simply do not understand. The trillions of bacteria living in your gut are not just passengers, they are active participants in your biology. They break down the food you eat. They help produce critical nutrients like B vitamins and vitamin K2. And they do so much more for your overall vitality and longevity. Maintaining a healthy gut microbiome is not a one-time fix. It is a continuous process of balancing these microbes by paying extremely close attention to what you put on your fork at every single meal. Today, I am going to share with you the definitive list of the 10 worst foods for your gut health. I promise you, this information could be life-changing. Welcome to another crucial episode in our Top Foods to Eat and Avoid series. I am so incredibly glad you are here today because we are going to dive deeper than we usually do into the science of gut health. This is absolutely critical information, especially if you are over the age of 60 and looking to preserve your health for decades to come. Before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. We want to ensure you never miss life-saving videos like this one. And if you find this information helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone you care about who needs to hear this message. Why your gut health matters more than you realize. Now let's talk about your gut health and why it matters so much more than you probably realize. You have likely heard the old saying, "You are what you eat," but that is not entirely true. In reality, you are not what you eat. You are what you are able to digest and what your gut bacteria do with what you eat. Many people operate under the belief that the brain runs the body. On the surface, that makes sense. The brain processes thoughts and moves muscles. But the real command center for your biological health may actually be your gut. That's right, your digestive system directs your immune system, controls your hormones, and even determines your mood, mental clarity, and anxiety levels. While you might be doing your very best to take care of your health, perhaps eating what you think are healthy foods, you may be unknowingly hurting yourself. You could be destroying the delicate ecosystem inside your gut with the very foods you consume every single day. The amazing power of your gut microbiome. We all know that the gut handles digestion and absorption. It is the plumbing of the body. It is vitally important because everything we put into our mouth must be broken down and used by the body, and the gut takes care of that process. But the function of the gut goes so much further than simple mechanics. You have the hardware, the tube, the stomach, the intestines. You can make some enzymes, and you can break things down mechanically. But the ecosystem, the biome, the trillions of bacteria that live there, is the software. They digest the fibers and compounds that you cannot digest on your own, and they make a vast array of those nutrients available to you in usable forms. For example, few people realize that your gut bacteria are actually little chemical factories. They make vitamins for you. Specifically, they synthesize vitamin B1 thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B6, B12, and the crucial vitamin K2. If you have a healthy, thriving gut microbiome, these bacteria will manufacture these vitamins for you every single day, for free. In many other ways, if you have a healthy gut, these bacteria act as processors. They activate nutrients, repackage them, and process them into forms your cells can actually utilize. You might be eating the most expensive, nutrient-dense organic foods, but if you do not have a good balance of gut bacteria, you may not be able to use those nutrients effectively. You are eating the best fuel, but you have a broken engine. Your gut controls 70% of your immune system. There is another piece of the puzzle that is absolutely critical to our understanding of human health. 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. This is called the GALT, the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. This is where the vast majority of your white blood cells, your immune warriors, actually live, train, and work. Imagine the inside of your gut at the microscopic level. It is lined with villi, tiny finger-like projections designed to increase the surface area for absorption. Inside these structures, there are different layers. You have enzymes and various compounds tucked into little pockets. But beneath that surface layer, there is a basement membrane. In that specific area is where most of your immune system resides. Why is the vast majority of your immune system living in your gut wall? The answer is simple. Everything you put into your mouth, everything you swallow that enters this digestive tube is technically a foreign substance. It is outside the body until it crosses the gut barrier. It is supposed to become part of you, but it isn't yet. It has to be screened, tested, and accounted for by your immune system to ensure it isn't a poison or a pathogen. That is why you have this massive immune presence right there. If anything gets through that isn't supposed to bacteria, toxins, undigested proteins, your white blood cells in the GALT get the first sample. They can process and act on it very quickly to protect you. On the other side of this intestinal wall is where your gut bacteria are living. When there is a good balance of these bacteria, when you have healthy beneficial microbes, these bacteria actually train your immune system. They teach it to behave properly, to be calm, and to be efficient. They create harmony in your system. However, if we develop what is called dysbiosis, an imbalance characterized by an overgrowth of bad pathogenic bacteria, we create chaos in the system. The immune system begins constantly reacting and overreacting to the problematic environment in the intestinal lumen. The more chaos we have, the more inflammation develops. This is the root cause of many allergies, food sensitivities, and autoimmune conditions we see today. Another huge portion of your well-being is dictated by the gut-brain axis. Did you know that 90% of the serotonin in your body is made in the gut, not the brain? Serotonin is your feel-good neurotransmitter, the chemical responsible for making you feel happy, content, and stable. This means a significant portion of your mood, your emotional resilience, and how you feel on a daily basis is actually determined by the balance of your gut flora. The area down in your gut is often called your second brain because you have a dense network of nervous tissue there, known as the enteric nervous system. So you have your enteric immune system, your gut microbiome, and this extensive enteric nervous system all working together in a complex symphony. In a sense, you could argue that this second brain is actually controlling the first brain upstairs. Your brain is constantly responding to chemical signals sent from your gut. It is a two-way communication highway. Depending on what is happening down in your digestive system, your brain's function, your mood, and your mental awareness will shift. So you can think of it this way. You share your brain with your bugs. It is almost as if you have two separate systems. One is enclosed in a separate compartment in your gut, containing about 40 trillion bacteria, roughly the same number as the human cells in your entire body. It is its own little ecosystem, its own universe producing chemicals, processing data, and signaling your brain, just like your body's own cells do. Now that we understand the stakes, let's get into the countdown. These are the 10 worst foods that destroy your gut. They are in no particular order because they are all problematic in different yet equally damaging ways. Processed meats include everyday items like hot dogs, bacon, sausages, deli meats, salami, and pepperoni. One of the major issues with processed meats is that they contain nitrates and nitrites. These are preservatives used to keep the meat looking pink and fresh. On their own, nitrates are not necessarily the enemy. They exist in vegetables like celery. However, under certain conditions, specifically high heat and an acidic environment, these compounds combine with proteins, amines, to form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are potent carcinogens, cancer-causing compounds. This transformation happens when you have really strong stomach acid, which you actually need for digestion, or more commonly, when you cook these meats at very high temperatures. For example, one of the worst things you could do is deep fry bacon or burn sausages on a scorching hot grill. That high heat accelerates the formation of these dangerous compounds. To mitigate this, if you must eat these meats, cook them at lower temperatures. Low and slow is the key. It is important to note that plants also have nitrates, but they rarely form nitrosamines. Why? Because plants are packed with antioxidants and polyphenols, particularly vitamin C, which blocks the conversion of nitrates into cancer-causing nitrosamines. Processed meats lack these protective nutrients. Action step: if you are going to eat processed meats, treat them as a condiment, not the main course, and always eat them alongside antioxidant-rich vegetables to provide a buffer. Food number 9 is low-fat pasteurized dairy, in all its forms: skim milk, 1% or 2% milk, low-fat yogurt, and similar products. One of the reasons commercial dairy is so problematic for the gut is a protein called A1 beta-casein. Most commercial cattle produce milk with this specific protein structure. For many people, A1 casein is very difficult to digest. In the gut, it breaks down into a peptide called beta-casomorphin 7, BCM7. This compound acts as an opioid, slowing down digestion and dramatically increasing inflammation and the risk of leaky gut. Low-fat dairy is often worse than full-fat dairy. Why? Because when you remove the fat, you remove the natural buffer that slows absorption and protects the gut lining. You are increasing the concentration of the problematic A1 protein relative to the fat. By removing 90% or 100% of the fat, you are left with a high-sugar lactose, high-protein cocktail that hits the gut hard. Then there is the issue of pasteurization. Nature did not mess up when it designed milk. It is the primary food for mammal infants. In its raw, fresh state like mother's milk, milk contains active enzymes like lipase to digest fat, lactase to digest lactose sugar, and phosphatase. Phosphatase is critical because it allows you to absorb the calcium and phosphorus in the milk. You have seen the commercials claiming milk does a body good due to calcium. What they forget to tell you is that the heat of pasteurization destroys the phosphatase enzyme. Without it, you can only absorb a tiny fraction of that calcium. Pasteurization also kills the beneficial probiotic bacteria Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium that would naturally populate the milk and support your gut. You are left with a dead food that is harder to digest and devoid of its natural digestive aids. Number 8 refers to those deceptive, healthy processed foods. These are the items marketed as better alternatives. Granola bars loaded with grains and syrups, yogurt cups filled with fruit preserves, sugar, stabilizers, and artificial flavors. This category also includes many commercial dairy alternatives like oat milk, soy milk, and almond milk. On the surface, a plant-based oat milk sounds healthy, but flip the carton over. You will often see seed oils like rapeseed or canola, dipotassium, phosphate, gums, and massive amounts of sugar maltose, created during the enzymatic processing of the oats. Manufacturers spend millions of dollars on marketing to make you feel virtuous for buying these products. They use trigger words like plant-based, natural, or whole grain. The reality? Many of these plant-based crops are heavily sprayed with glyphosate, a desiccant and herbicide known to disrupt the microbiome. They are then processed with industrial chemicals and stripped of their natural fiber matrix. Eating a highly processed plant-based bar is often no better for your microbiome than eating a candy bar. Number 7 focuses on the hidden chemistry set in your food emulsifiers and additives. Look for names like polysorbate 80, carrageenan, carboxymethylcellulose, and xanthan gum. The purpose of an emulsifier is to mix water and fat so they don't separate. They make your almond milk creamy and keep your salad dressing blended. They are essentially soaps. The problem? They act like soap in your gut too. Your gut lining is covered by a crucial protective mucus layer. This mucus acts as a shield, preventing bacteria and toxins from touching the delicate intestinal cells. Emulsifiers like polysorbate 80 wash away and thin out this mucus layer. When the mucus layer is stripped away, bacteria can move closer to the intestinal wall. This triggers inflammation and can lead to translocation, where bacteria cross into the bloodstream. Even carrageenan, derived from red seaweed and often labeled natural, is problematic. Its chemical structure mimics that of certain bacteria. When you eat it, your immune system can mistake it for a pathogen, mounting an immune response and triggering chronic inflammation in the gut. Number 6 is alcohol. Alcohol is, chemically speaking, a solvent. We use it to sterilize surfaces and kill bacteria. When you drink it, it does not distinguish between a countertop and your gut lining. Alcohol directly damages the enterocytes, the cells lining your intestines. It also interferes with the production of mucin mucus. So, just like emulsifiers, alcohol thins your protective barrier. The most dangerous consequence of this is the leakage of endotoxins, specifically lipopolysaccharides (LPS). LPS are toxins found in the cell walls of bad bacteria. When your gut barrier is compromised by alcohol, these toxins leak into your bloodstream. Researchers performed a study where they injected a tiny amount of LPS directly into the blood of healthy volunteers. Within minutes, the participants showed clinical signs of anxiety and depression. This is the gut-brain axis in action. Alcohol makes your gut leaky, toxins enter your blood, and your mood and mental health plummet. Food number 5 is gluten, primarily found in modern wheat. Modern wheat is not the same grain your great-grandparents ate. Through hybridization, we have created dwarf wheat varieties that are incredibly high in gluten to make fluffy breads. Gluten contains a protein called gliadin. When you ingest gliadin, it triggers the release of a compound called zonulin in your gut. Zonulin is the key that unlocks the tight junctions between your intestinal cells. Think of your gut lining like a fine mesh net. Zonulin makes the holes in the net bigger. This leads to intestinal permeability or leaky gut. This happens to some degree in everyone who eats gluten, not just those with celiac disease, though some repair the damage faster than others. Furthermore, gluten proteins can look like body tissues to the immune system. This is called molecular mimicry. If your immune system tags gluten as an enemy, it may also start attacking your thyroid, your joints, or your pancreas because they look chemically similar. This is a primary driver of autoimmune disease. Number 4 is artificial sweeteners aspartame, sucralose splenda, and acesulfame potassium ACE-K. People switch to these to lose weight and avoid sugar, but they may have done more harm than good. These chemicals are not inert. They biologically alter the gut microbiome. Studies show that artificial sweeteners selectively kill off beneficial bacteria like Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium. Even worse, they alter the ratio of two major bacterial phyla, Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes. Firmicutes are excellent at extracting energy calories from food. They are often associated with obesity. Bacteroidetes are associated with leanness. Artificial sweeteners have been shown to increase Firmicutes and decrease Bacteroidetes. This means your microbiome becomes better at harvesting calories, which can actually drive weight gain and insulin resistance, the exact opposite of what you wanted when you chose the diet soda. Food number 3 is seed oils, also known as vegetable oils. This includes canola, soybean, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, and safflower oils. These oils are problematic for two main reasons: processing and inflammation. Processing. You cannot squeeze oil out of a soybean or corn kernel easily like you can an olive. Manufacturers use high heat, high pressure, and petroleum-based solvents like hexane to extract the oil. They then bleach it and deodorize it. By the time it hits the bottle, the oil is often already oxidized and full of free radicals. Omega-6. These oils are incredibly high in omega-6 fatty acids. While we need some omega-6, the modern diet provides a massive excess. This skews the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, putting the body in a constant state of pro-inflammatory alert. Chronic inflammation begins in the gut and spreads system-wide. Number 2 is fried food. Fried foods combine the worst of all worlds. You are usually taking the seed oils mentioned in number 3 and then heating them to extreme temperatures. When you superheat these oils, they undergo oxidation and hydrolysis. They create advanced glycation end products, ages, and toxic aldehydes. These compounds act like shrapnel in the gut, physically and chemically damaging the delicate microvilli of the intestinal wall. Furthermore, fried foods are almost always coated in batter. That batter is usually made of white flour gluten and often contains sugar or MSG. So you have the gluten opening the gut barrier and the toxic oxidized oils inflaming the tissue. It is a perfect storm for gut destruction. And finally, the number one enemy of your gut is sugar and refined carbohydrates. I call this group the white trash of the diet: white sugar, white flour, and processed starches. These foods make up nearly 60% of the calories consumed in the standard Western diet. Why is sugar number 1? Because it is the primary fuel source for pathogenic bacteria and yeast like Candida. Good bacteria generally prefer fiber, bad bacteria and yeast love sugar. When you eat a high-sugar diet, you are selectively feeding the enemy. You are acting as a supply line for the very organisms that cause bloating, gas, and inflammation. High sugar intake also spikes insulin, leading to insulin resistance. This metabolic state promotes systemic inflammation, which further weakens the gut barrier. It also increases the production of ages, those sticky proteins that gum up your cellular machinery and accelerate aging. Understanding the generational impact. The vanishing microbiome. Where does this all start? It starts at birth. When we are born naturally, we pass through the birth canal, swallowing fluids and bacteria. This is the seeding of the microbiome, the most important meal of our lives. But we are facing a crisis. Due to the widespread use of antibiotics, C-sections, pesticides like glyphosate, and the heavy consumption of the 10 foods listed above, our collective microbiome is disappearing. Your mother had less beneficial bacteria to pass down than her mother did, and you have less to pass down to your children. We are seeing a generational depletion of our inner ecosystem. We are currently about 5 generations deep into the industrial food and antibiotic era. This generational loss of microbial diversity is a leading theory on why we are seeing such an explosion in autism, severe allergies, asthma, ADHD, and autoimmune diseases in children. It isn't just one thing, it is the cumulative effect of a weakened microbiome passed down and further damaged by modern lifestyle factors. The good news is that the microbiome is resilient. It changes quickly. By removing these 10 destroyers: processed meats, commercial dairy, fake health foods, emulsifiers, alcohol, gluten, artificial sweeteners, seed oils, fried foods, and sugar, you can stop the damage immediately. If you replace these with whole, unprocessed foods, fermented foods, and fiber-rich plants, your gut bacteria can begin to recover, repopulate, and heal your body from the inside out. If you enjoyed this video, I think you are going to love my next video on the 10 warning signs you have a leaky gut. It will help you connect the dots between your symptoms and what is happening inside. If you truly want to master your health by understanding how the body really works, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that bell, and turn on all notifications. Do not let the algorithm decide your health. Take control so you never miss a life-saving video like this one. Thank you so much for watching, for caring about your body, and for being part of this community. I will see you in the next video.